Hi everyone, I hope all of you guys are doing well. So today I'm going to go ahead and dive into an answer writing session with you all, part of the 100 days answer writing challenge, because mains are also coming very soon. So I want you to see how you should go about answer writing, number 1. Number 2, I want you to understand and learn frameworks of answer writing. See, you cannot just have a lot of content on your hand and expect to write good answers. Even if you have a lot of knowledge, lot of content, lot of information, you need to put all this information and knowledge that you have in a very good and structured and succinct. What does succinct mean? Succinct means a very well structured format on the paper, because that only will get you marks. You have to be to the point. Succinct basically means you have to be to the point. You have to be very specific. So to learn all this organization and structure of answer writing, to learn all the structure and organization of answer writing, to be succinct, to be to the point, all this comes from practice, and it comes from understanding framework of writing answers. Now, one popular format that everyone tells you about is obviously intro, body, and conclusion. Obviously, this is the classic thing, and you have to follow this. But apart from this, what kind of other frameworks you can use in order to write good answers, I will also be discussing in the next few days. So how to convert your information, your knowledge base, your content base into a very good structured and organized answer is something that you are going to learn through this answer writing series. And answer writing is not tough, it is not rocket science. Unfortunately, people have made it tough, and unfortunately a lot of institutes have made it a complicated business, but it is actually very simple, given the fact that you have decent knowledge of what you are writing about. Alright, so here I'm going to handle this question. I'm going to show you beyond the intro, body, conclusion, what kind of framework I use here, and that way you can start developing your own frameworks. I will also share my own frameworks with you so that you can learn. Alright, so the question, let's discuss the question. This is a question from actual UPSC GS2 paper. The emergence of self-help groups, SHGs, in contemporary times points to the slow but steady withdrawal of the state from development activities. मतलब क्या हुआ मीनिंग दैट जैसे जैसे ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप्स आ रहे हैं, उसी तरह से धीरे धीरे स्टेट का मतलब क्या होता है? गवर्नमेंट जो है डेवलपमेंट एक्टिविटी से बाहर निकल रही है. एज द नंबर ऑफ सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप्स आर इंक्रीजिंग, एज दैट इमर्जिंग, the state or the government is withdrawing from the development activities. So now think about it first. All right, I want you to use this session as a brainstorming session rather than an answering session only. Self-help groups are what? Self-help groups are basically groups, small groups of 10 to 12 women from a village who are organized into a self-help group. In Hindi, it is known as Swam Sahayata Group. And what does that group do is it helps itself, the members of that particular group help themselves by coming together, lending to each other, lending money to each other, by having an institutional framework about various business and financing activities they do. So for example, if you are one alone woman in a particular village who wants to start a business, let's say you want to start a business of vegetable vending, you want to take your vegetables from your village to your city, you need money for that. Let's say you want to buy a cart. For buying the cart, let's say you need 50,000 rupees, but you don't have it because lot of people stay in very high poverty in the rural areas. So it is difficult for you to even afford the 50,000 rupees. Normally you would go to a local lender in that village, उनको साहूकार बोलते हैं, साहूकार. तो you will go to the साहूकार and they will probably give you a loan at a very high interest rate, as high as 50, 60%, 100% sometimes, right? So that will become very difficult for you to pay off. That is how traditionally everything happened when it comes to lending in the villages. The self-help group system basically tried to break that lending cycle, number one. Number two, try to educate the women, make them more aware. Number 3, try to use the network of women within the village to be able to generate business opportunities for them. And that is how the self-help groups work. And there are many other things. They target the vulnerable sections so that these vulnerable sections can get access to loans which otherwise they were never able to get. Then through the self-help groups, they have a lot of awareness sessions. They sit together, they learn about things, they learn about money, they learn about how to manage money, how to manage finances. They learn about new business ideas. They get help in form of loans from the banks at very low interest rates. So that is how the self-help group works. So the emergence of these groups, the statement is trying to say, has led to slow withdrawal of the state of the government from the developmental activities. So what are now developmental activities? We all know developmental activities are building of infrastructure, building of schools, providing good education, providing good health care, providing good water, sanitation, etc. These are all developmental activities. So the statement is saying the emergence of self-help groups is leading to state having a smaller role in developmental activities. Now let's see, this is the statement within the quotation marks. Question is, examine the role of SHGs in development activities. So what is the role of SHGs in developmental activities and the measures taken by the government to promote SHGs? See, now the statement of this question is sort of different from the question itself that is asked. The question is, what is the role of SHGs? Okay. And what are the measures taken by the government to promote SHGs? All right. So these are the two questions they have asked very specifically. Stick to what has been asked. Don't try to decipher this statement in the answer, because if you go about deciphering this statement in the answer, अगर आप इस क्वेश्चन के आंसर के पीछे जाने लगेंगे, स्टेटमेंट के ये जो स्टेटमेंट है यहाँ पे, उसको आंसर करने लग जाएंगे तो क्वेश्चन ही अलग बन जाएगा, सारा क्वेश्चन ही फ्लिप हो जाएगा. पर जो एक्चुअल क्वेश्चन यहाँ पूछा है उसमें रोल पूछा है SHGs का, they have asked that, and the measures that is taken by the government to promote SHGs. It's a very different two questions, very specific questions asked by the UPSC here. Stick to that. These will get you marks. Deciphering the statement will not. It is just a statement, and somehow it is related to these questions, but not really they are asking you to comment on this statement at all. So how will I go? What is the framework I will use? First of all, your broader framework. You have to have the intro, you have to have the body, you have to have the conclusion. The introduction. See, now let's decipher. Two questions are asked. The framework is what? My framework is always answer all parts of the question. The question here has two parts: role of the SHGs in developmental activities and measures taken by the government to promote the SHGs. The first thing is always answer all parts of the question in equal proportion as much as possible, because only then will you get 7.5 marks for this, 7.5 marks for this. So total 15 marks are allocated between these two. Okay, intro, body, conclusion, follow this, but depending on the question, the intro could be different, the body could be different, and the conclusion could be different. Here simply they have asked about the role of SHG, so the intro could simply be defining what is SHG. So this framework I always use is wherever basic concepts are being asked in the questions, wherever basic things are being asked, always try to define the most important concept of that question. So here the most important concept they are asking about is self-help groups. So try to just give a definition of what these self-help groups are, and then add an example there. Add an example. So my framework is, in the introduction, provide definition number 1 and add an example number 2. Then move on to the body. In body, in points, provide answer to both these, content for both these, the role of SHGs and the measures taken by the government. And try to include answers, examples if possible, especially in GS3. one of my key rule of my framework was I will try to include examples if I have some. Alright, and then obviously conclude. Conclusion, you can give example of additionally some government scheme. You can provide some example of any other such initiative, or you can also end in a forward looking way. So this is your framework. In intro what you do, in body what you do, and conclusion what you do, and then try to follow this broader framework in order to make your life easier and in order to have a structure. Convert your content and information into structure and organization. Now this will take a lot of time. You have to practice a lot to get this right, but it can happen. Alright, so let's now answer this question. We will start from here because I have used this sheet paper already. Self help groups, SHGs, are normally groups of women, 15 to 20 in number, that work to provide alternative livelihoods to women and also encourage small scale savings and lending. Programs. All right, very simple definition within 5 sentences I have provided here. For example, Kudumbashri of Kerala and NABARD have funded the E-Shakti program that provides funding to thousands of SHGs in India. So I have given specific example also of programs here in order to boost my answer. You can give many, there are so many examples in SHGs, so there is no shortage. Now I have given the introduction, I have given the example, I have used my framework, define an example, provide example. Now for body, what did I tell you? Get straight to the question's main points and answer them, what they are asking. Okay? Role of SHGs in developmental activities. You can box it because you make it very obvious that here you have written this particular point. All right. Financing. That is a key role. That is the most important role. For example, the prior sector lending the government provides to SHGs and at low interest rates and relaxed repayments agreements. These SHGs build the financial health of villages and vulnerable sections. Financing, what is the example? Straight to the point, not beating around the bush, not trying to explain. And then providing the exact benefit also here. Livelihoods, the Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana encapsulates skill development and capacity building of SHGs, which leads to higher economic output. Number 3, corporate links, CSR programs and SHGs are spearheaded by SHGs. For example, the Saheli program by Amazon. Now see, this is self-explainable, explained, so you don't have to go into detail. You've given such a good example that it is pretty much filled. And you can provide SHG mobilization for health and sanitation awareness also ensures that these groups have a wider impact on development. See, you have covered financing, livelihood, sanitation, health, and even private sector. All the different varieties. And these are all true, this is what SHGs do, and they are one of the best ways to learn how they are transforming the country in small ways. So now the measures taken by the government. Second part of the question, to promote SHGs. Revolving fund, bank loans, government provides bank loans, then bank linkage program, then you have grants by NABARD, skill upgradation and training sessions, Rashtriya Mahila Kosh provides loans at cheap rates to intermediary organizations. So all these things, and you can explain this also, revolving fund is provided by the governments in order to help the self-help groups to finance their various business activities. Bank loans are provided as part of the Ajivika scheme or the NRLM scheme. The bank linkage program is there in order for various SHGs to get loans for their projects. So all these you can provide. See, sometimes you don't have time, so you can also even give these short one liners or these short points when you don't have the time. Because I always used to try to restrict the amount of time I was taking in one question, not more than a certain amount of time. So for this kind of a question of 15 to 50 words, 15 marks, you will get around maximum 12-13 minutes to answer it. So restrict, beyond that, restrict too much writing. Now you can conclude it, and in the conclusion what I would write very simple statement. Hence, it can be seen that the government plays a critical role in facilitation of SHGs. These SHGs are slowly and steadily becoming a key player in development of the country, or of the rural economy, you can tell, of the rural economy. Okay, so see how very simple. Conclusion is always about what are the takeaways, or whatever the forward looking statement. So whenever you're thinking of conclusion, have a framework in your mind that either I'm going to write about what are the way forward, how we are going to further kind of go forward from here, or you can summarize what has been written, or you can provide a statement that kind of gives a overall analysis of what have you discussed. In comparable kind of questions you do that. I will show you that in other questions. You can watch some other video, you will find it. And here I have kind of summarized it. So there are different kind of conclusions you can write. In some you show the way forward, in some you summarize, and in some you analyze. So here more of a summarization has taken place. So this is how you write an answer. Let me know if you have any questions around it. Try to simplify our answer writing like I have done today, and that will make your life much easier. All right. So have a good day. Bye. And if you have any questions, let me know.